What is going on, YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I'm going to be bringing you another Locals BT6 match. Now, on the left, we are going to be having Black Toolbox Security Control, I guess. It is a very interesting deck. It is like the yellow-black Security Control list, but instead of it being very option-based, there is a lot of Digimon for you to play. There are some interesting megas for you to bring out, like the Metal Garurumon, and we have yellow eggs for the Salamons. So we have a very interesting deck on the left here, and then on the right we are just going with the bread and butter LordKnightmon. Now this is the first BT6 event at this Locals, so I'm not sure if they just didn't have another deck or if they just wanted to keep running it up with LordKnightmon. As someone who played LordKnightmon, I could understand wanting to play LordKnightmon more, continuing to push it in a new meta. I did play a little bit too much LordKnightmon, so I personally got a little bit burnt out, but I could perfectly see wanting to just go ahead and continue playing LordKnightmon. It's a perfectly fine deck as long as you can get through these security control style decks as well as the Bond of Friendship decks. I don't really know how it does versus the Bond decks, but we can see how it will do versus this very interesting control deck we have here. Now, we saw that there was the boost at the beginning, which put the Nanimon on the top, so if they do go for the swing here, then they will be able to get another Digimon on board from the Nanimon in security, and then just going to play a Mechanori out into a Shademon, putting the opponent at pretty low memory every single turn, just been choking them as much as possible, giving them as little choices as possible. Do have LordKnightmon out though, so you can go ahead and swing in and then drop something if you choose to, if you have Knightmon, or maybe you want to get out a rookie. Most of these rookies are just going to be shut down by the Mechanorimon though, so even if you go into, let's say, Bushiagumon, it's not going to be super effective for you, so just going to opt to not even swing in. Going into the Sirenmon, building up, so you could potentially get another LordKnightmon here. We're going to go into Volcanomon and Digiburst to go ahead and pop the Pedomon, and then swinging for 2 checks because they do have an unsuspended Digimon thanks to the Volcanomon. Gonna go ahead and grab LordKnightmon out of there, so definitely now can go into a second LordKnightmon on top of that Sirenmon. Not only has the TK out, which is going to allow for the memory boost, but also has the LordKnightmon. But as I say that, gonna Digivolve straight into the Zwart popping the TK, so now only at 2, so if you wanted to go into another LordKnightmon, you'd either have to swing and play the Pulsemon, or you can just play the Blinding Ray. Either way, you'll be able to gain the memory there, and both are pretty high possibilities considering the deck. But just going to go straight into the War Greymon, still not attacking, so now you have 2 Megas and an Ultimate on board. You're still getting slightly memory choked, which is a bit of an issue, but going into this next turn, you could be looking pretty good because you have the War Greymon out, so you can pop this Mechanorimon with the restand, but actually now there is the Black Tie on the board, which is going to be giving the Mechanorimon plus 1 KDP on the opponent's turn, which means that the War Greymon's unsuspend effect actually is not going to be able to pop the Mechanorimon here. Looks like they're discussing out how they want to target, so the swing's going to go through and hit the Nanimon that was there. And I believe they gave the minus to the Zwart. I'm not 100% sure. Just have to go off with what they're pointing, but they can swing in now. They're going to play a Starmons, which will pop the Nanimon. So I don't believe they targeted the Mechanorimon. If they did, the Starmons would have probably popped it there. But now we have 2 ties, so this is sitting at 8k Mechanorimon on the opponent's turn, so that's very powerful. The player on the left is looking like they are forgetting about the secondary effect of Izzy Joe being able to suspend it to draw a card with a black Digimon dies, so could have activated that on the Nanimon right there, but going to swing over the Zwart there, which is going to end up popping the LordKnightmon, so that is a play that keeps you alive for a bit, just because your opponent can't swing with the Mechanorimon. You now have 2 blockers to their 1 potential attacker, so you are sitting pretty good. The thing is you have to also be able to win the game next turn, and if your opponent puts you back to just 1 memory or 2 memory, and you can't get into that other LordKnightmon, they might be able to just stall out for enough turns to be able to go for the win. See, they're putting them back at 1. The War Greymon will not be able to pop anything here, so it can't unsuspend to get multiple checks. We're gonna have to see the Blinding Ray, which is perfect because now they can go into that LordKnightmon that we saw them grab so early, and now you could potentially make some things happen. If you can swing and get rid of a couple of these Digimon, then you won't necessarily be in trouble next turn, but if you are only able to get rid of one of these Digimon, then you might potentially have an issue going in, because they can Digivolve on top of the Mechanorimon and then make it so they can attack if that's going to be something that they leave on board. So even if you just delete one of the Digimon and leave 3 on board, yes, only 2 of them can attack right now, and both of those would get blocked by the blockers, but if they do Digivolve on top of the Mechanorimon, it will be game. But popping a Digimon and then hitting yet another Nanimon to come right back out, so incredible amount of security Digimon coming out, and gonna recover there with the block on the Salamon, but now they can swing, block, and then swing, and they can't block that second one. So the Nanimon coming out of security did really seal it up there, didn't have any removal to get rid of it. Going into game 2, we are going to go ahead and see the black control player going first, LordKnightmon deciding to go second. Going to just start off with a reinforced memory boost, putting the opponent all the way up to 6. So LordKnightmon's going to be able to have a field day with this. With 6 memory, they can really do a lot. They can build up a lot. So going to have to see what they choose to go into here. Starting off with TK is going to be definitely smart and a great play there, because you're able to curate in through your security and figure out what cards you need in there, and you have just so much memory that you can just play it and still continue it at your turn. So we got a TK out and went up into an ultimate off of just the first turn thanks to that reinforced memory boost memory. So now with TK out, you're not going to be getting choked like you were that first game, and that's going to really change the dynamic, because a lot of the plays that happened in that first game came out of the opponent not being able to go straight into their LordKnightmon. Tai is going to come out of the check. We did see that from the reinforced memory boost turn 1, so both players knew that was coming out, so no choking on either side, both players having the memory tamer on board, while we also have the reinforced memory boost on the left side. Gonna go into the Metal Garurumon here. Doesn't have enough sources to activate the Digiburst effect, so wouldn't even be able to trash the top security since it can't activate the effect without the target, but can go ahead and get the memory boost to pop so that we can get Zwart. Gonna pop the TK and then be able to swing over the 12k LordKnightmon, so very powerful turn coming out on the left side. Being able to get rid of the memory tamer and the opponent's main card in their deck is always going to be pretty impactful. Now we got War Greymon coming in, who is going to be able to swing a security check unsuspend to give -6 to the Zwart defeat, and then on the check is going to go ahead and just pop the Zwart defeat, so, and then that Zwart defeat gets ordered to the War Greymon, so a little bit of the reset on the board, making it so neither player really has too much of advantage, but that last Zwart defeat turn was just good enough, I feel, to give the black player a little bit more of an edge right now. They do have a Mechanorimon out, which is going to shut down both these rookies from being able to come in, but they're just going to go into a couple Pitomon here, which is perfectly fine. You're not going to really be attacking with them anyway, so might as well build up. You're only at 1 memory though, so you can't, even if you have Sirenmon, you can't do anything and still keep your turn. So they're going to have to go to 3 anyway. You'd prefer to have had the Sirenmon before the Pitomon. They might have still had it before they Digivolved the second Pitomon. If they did, then I probably would have tried to get up into the Sirenmon and then potentially get up into another LordKnightmon, so that way you could guaranteed promote a LordKnightmon next turn and get some things going. But for now, we're just building up some blockers, keeping the Sirenmon in raising. On the left, we're building up quite the board ourselves. We have both a Mechanori and a Shademon for great blockers. And then the Salamon's going to be coming out, being able to threaten some recovery, and then a reinforced memory boost coming out for even more recovery. So going to be having a lot of recovery with the 2 Salamons, with the 1 chilling and raising, 2 blockers. There's going to be a lot of work to come from the LordKnightmon player if they want to bring this back. They're really going to have to start deleting a lot. Luckily, the Garurumon can be deleted by just a Knightmon if they choose to target it. Yep, they will. So at least getting something off of board, so there's not as big of a pressure, but that's probably the least pressuring card on the board. Obviously, the Mechanorimon and the Shademon cannot attack, but they both have the 1k boost from the Tai, making it so a lot of cards in the deck are not going to be able to swing in. Can get rid of the Shademon, at least the Starmons being able to get rid of minus 5k on top of the minus 1k of the Pikmon when that LordKnightmon swung, equaling the 6k since it, like I said, did have that 1k boost from the tie. So you were able to get rid of 2 cards on the board, which is great. Mechanorimon is the little bit more troublesome one, I do believe, just because it can unsuspend on all this, but the tides changed a lot these past couple turns. I felt like the player on the left was going to have a pretty big advantage after that Zwart defeat turn, but as of right now, especially going into this LordKnightmon, I feel like the LordKnightmon player is going to have a pretty big advantage going in now. The board is just very wide, and if you can get rid of this Mechanorimon, then the game is just about over. Going to take out one of the Salamons, so not going to be having the cards to get rid of the Mechanorimon, it looks like. No Starmons or anything like that, but can at least get rid of a Salamon. I feel like that's fine. You need to get rid of the Digimon on board. Your opponent only has 2 attackers and you have 2 blockers, so if anything tries to attack, you're going to be fine. Sukuyamon's now out on the board, which even puts the black player in an even worse position, because even if they try to promote, they won't be able to get anything for a check for a turn. So yeah, I think the LordKnightmon player put themselves in a pretty fantastic position here where they're going to just likely take this game very easily. There's just so many Digimon on board. I believe there's only 3 security checks left, and we're having, what, 3, 6, 7 Digimon that can attack next turn. So looking at the cards that can attack that Mechanorimon cannot swing over, we have the Knightmon, which it would trade with, the LordKnightmon, and the Sakuyamon. So with just those 3 checks themselves, they would technically be able to clear all the security and threaten the check for game. So if you can get rid of this Mechanorimon, you definitely win for sure, but the black player might be able to pull something out here that would save them. Gonna have to see what they want. They did pop the memory boost to gain a lot of memory, so potentially something could come out here. Not even an ultimate flare is really doing too much. Going just straight into his Zwart defeat, that is not gonna do it. That gives the LordKnightmon player just too much opportunity to be able to clear the board. They could even just play a Valdararm and still have it be their turn, but as we're gonna see, a Starmon's coming out for 8k, which is perfectly what you need because the Mechanorimon was at K from the 2 ties. So gonna swing in, gonna be able to get a couple security Digimon out, but there are just too many checks for it to matter. So gonna be able to seal it up and be able to tie this up 1-1. Going into game 3, I do think that the LordKnightmon player was going to have a bit of an advantage there. Did have a little bit of a skip going into that first turn, but what we can see is that the opponent just played the TK. No rookie in hand because they didn't even hatch, so they're just trying to find something there, but now able to start getting things going. Starmon's in the raising into Turimon. It's interesting how I believe every game turn 1 we've seen the yellow memory boost from the left side, or the reinforced memory boost, which is going to just be getting curated cards onto the top of your security for whenever your opponent swings in. A second TK coming out, so really just trying to get everything that you need out of security into hand. Trying to get up into LordKnightmon. This is good because we saw the last game when the opponent had 1 TK, it did just get Zwart defeated, so by having it this way, you're making it so you can't really Zwart defeat fast enough for your opponent to not have any Tamers on board. And the memory choking was just a little bit rough these past couple games for the LordKnightmon player, so pretty much shutting that off for the entirety of game 3 and always going to be able to go to at least 3 is going to be pretty huge. We did see back-to-back reinforced memory boosts, and I think another one may be coming here soon, so a lot of security going to be coming on the top. Going to be really stacking up, which is good because you do want to be able to curate your board a little bit. Going to be putting the Nanimon in hand and tie on the security, which is a bit interesting. Might have something that you want to have the Nanimon for. Maybe you want to Digivolve a Volcanomon on top of it, but being able to get the Nanimon out for free when your opponent swings in and they don't have any blockers would be good to get a nice little free check because it won't have Summoning Sickness coming into your turn. And when the LordKnightmon player is starting to get a little low, that could be impactful, but we're going to see the LordKnightmon swing, which is going to get the Knightmon off of the LordKnightmon effect and then the Lucamon off of the Angelomon because they were at 3, so pretty good turn. And then they put a blocker out on top of the rookie, so that made my Putting the Nanimon on the top, irrelevant, so the opponent did make a good play of bringing out the tie, so now that they have a memory tamer, and then they have 9 stored memory with those memory boosts on the board, so can really play just about anything that they need to play. Hopefully they don't have to hard play these Wart Defeat again, because that was just a little bit too slow and not effective enough to really do anything that last game. Obviously probably didn't have anything better to do and had to just get some Digimon on board, which is understandable, but with that much memory, you're probably going to be looking towards playing multiple cards per turn instead of just one big card. So I'm going to be interested in what they play. Just popping them all, going straight to 9 right away, going into Volcanomon. So that could go into a potential Metal Garurumon if they do have it. Going into the Genkumon, so going to go ahead and pop the Sirenmon as the lowest DP. Getting rid of the Sirenmon is nice, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Even if your opponent went into another Mega, you're already having to deal with 2 LordKnightmons, and every turn that these LordKnightmons stay on the board, it's going to get even worse, and they could just potentially play even more ultimates for free in the form of Knightmon, so not looking in the best of spot. Going to add Mechanori to hand, put the Warumanze on top, so this is a very interesting list that we've seen so far. There are a lot of interesting cards that are coming out. We see the ability to build up with the black sources in multiple ways, but no black rookies, and just replacing it with the yellow rookies. So a very interesting build coming out, but we're gonna have to see if it's gonna be able to take out these LordKnightmons here. Gonna be able to swing in for multiple checks, play multiple Digimon for free, and you did get to recover a lot, which gives you a lot of time going forward because all those reinforced memory boosts, and you have Salamon in the back, so you technically have a few more turns, but I don't think you're gonna be able to outrace these cards just by recovering more, especially when we're dropping 2 Bushis. Both of these can go ahead and just swing in. You have a board that is completely just about immune to Ultimate Flare. We haven't seen an Ultimate Flare yet, so it's probably not in the deck, but that is really the only card you're going to be super worried about seeing in the security, besides some potential security Digimon. But if your opponent doesn't clear the board, then coming back into the LordKnightmon's turn, they will likely just win the game. I don't think there's going to be enough security Digimon for them to be able to go for game next turn, especially now with the Unimon. Gonna let the swing go through, you might as well, and then they're going to go ahead and recover 1 off of the Salamon, so getting back up, there are a lot of checks. You still probably have potentially 1 more turn of surviving. We saw 2 Bushis dropped, so there's probably not too many Bushis left even in the deck, let alone the hand, if there's any Bushis left in the hand. So gonna have to just try and survive. Gonna pop one of the TKs, but that's not really going to be enough. Gonna be able to swing 2 checks, but gonna actually target the LordKnightmon. So if they were able to get through and trade with the LordKnightmon, they could have popped both LordKnightmon. So I could understand that being a play that you want to go for, and a really good block from the opponent here. But now for sure, you're definitely not going to be going down next turn unless your opponent for some reason has a 3rd or 4th Bushi in hand, which is going to be a little rough if they do. There's nothing you can really do about that, but you have to try and win the game. You don't have the checks to win the game next turn as the black player because you only have 3 swings, but we have seen a lot of security Digimon that can come out, so if they do start swinging in and you hit just a couple security Digimon, you could potentially just have the game next turn, and this could flip really quickly. So this turn should be pretty impactful in how this game's going to end out. What's in that security could really be important, and what comes off of these LordKnightmon swings. 2 Starmons coming out, 1 giving -4, 1 giving -5, being able to pop both of the Digimon on board. Now there's just a Zwart Defeat, so now you need to have essentially all 3 Digimon in there, be security Digimon, and have your opponent swing all of the security, but that is not looking likely to happen. So we're gonna have to see if the black player can do anything on their turn, because if not, I am looking and seeing a pretty much game over by the LordKnightmon player next turn. They are going to go ahead and swing over those Zwart Defeats. There's no Digimon on the board, sacrificing one of their LordKnightmon, which is fine. You're so far ahead that it doesn't really matter. You get another ultimate out and 2 blockers, so there's really nothing you can do here as the black player, I don't think. Can go ahead and pop the memory boost. I'm not sure what this is going to give you. You could technically hard play 2 blockers, but depending on what removal that might be in the LordKnightmon player's hand, they might just be able to get rid of this Mechanorimon. It is sitting at 7k, so that is a bit annoying, meaning that you can't just swing in with any of your blockers or your Sirenmon without just getting blocked for free. But if you do play even just something like a Starmons or give a Pikmon minus, then you will be good. A Shademon coming out, so the Knightmon giving the minus 4k, meaning that you can swing over with multiple of your Digimon, but now there's another blocker on board, so just not even going to risk it this turn, just gonna wait one more turn, develop, give the black player one more turn, and honestly, I think you're okay. You're playing it a little conservative, maybe a tad bit too conservative here, but it's making it so you're pretty much going to be good. Your opponent has 3 blockers now, but you have such a board presence and you have 2 LordKnightmon, so as long as your hand is like half decent, you should really be able to just seal up this game. Looks like they're deciding to continue to build up and search instead of swinging in. I think that makes a lot of sense in a way. If you do swing in with the LordKnightmons, they can let them go through, and if you do hit things like Sword to Feats or other security Digimon, they could potentially swarm the board wide enough to be able to go for game. But now we're going to see a WarGreymon come out, which is actually just going to potentially put on an insane amount of pressure. You're going to be able to unsuspend and give -6. You're doing it to the Mechanorimon, so they are going to be at 8, but you can give -6 and -1 twice, so that is 8. So if I was the black player, I would have blocked with the Mechanorimon that got minused by 7 that first swing, so that way you can't be hit by the Pikmon swing for free there. So they did kind of let some free swings go in. They're going to be able to swing, they're going to block with the Shademon, and the Starmon is going to pop the Mechanorimon, the Bushi's going to come out, swing, get blocked, and then the Pitomon's going to swing in. So old-fashioned LordKnightmon is going to take this, but that will be it for this match. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, because I will be having a bunch of BT6 content coming to you. So I hope you have a great day. Peace out.